Hello out there, everyone, and welcome to the second podcast, VIE Speaks, Think Out Loud. My guest today is Tracey Thomas, who is VIE's creative director, and she's been with us for 10 years. Welcome, Tracey.
Thank you. How are you, Lisa?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
We see each other every day for 10 years.
I
We're
know.
great. So I really wanted to have you on the podcast because I think that we have such a unique culture here in the company and such a really a true family style culture in the company. We travel a lot together. We all are under immense stress a lot of times because the clock is never our friend and we always have to beat the clock. And to keep going, especially for a 10-year relationship, that's not easy to do. So I hope when we finish this podcast that people kind of get a little glimpse into what the real life is here, some of the super fun highs and some of the real crunch times that we have. So tell me about maybe one of your favorite V photo shoots, one of the hardest ones and some of the most fun ones.
Well, let me start with fun. The most fun, I think, from beginning to end was the Ireland shoot we did with Christian Siriano when he brought his dresses over and he traveled over with us and collaborated with us to do the shoot. That was quite an experience.
That was.
Planning the whole thing, making sure the dresses got there on time. The dresses, do you remember? I think the dresses, they got stuck in customs for a little bit and we weren't sure whether they were going to be there in time. So that was like a little bit hectic, and traveling with jewelry.
Very expensive jewelry
Yes.
that we had to have insured, and nobody wanted to really be responsible for carrying the jewelry because it was scary and you couldn't stop but look down at your bag every 5 seconds on a international flight. Do you still have the jewelry? Do you still have the jewelry?
And I think you ended up wearing it on your back.
I ended up
you had
carrying
it on your back.
anyway. That was just, I mean, maybe nobody would think that that was very stressful, but it actually is just one of the many things that's very stressful. So for the audience to get a benchmark of how we even got to Ireland, we opened a satellite office in Ireland with the Idea Boutique, that is the publisher of VIE Magazine, and that's our marketing and branding firm that we've had for the last 26 years. So 6 years ago, I had the idea that I really wanted to open a satellite office and publish a magazine over there, which we ended up doing for 5 years, called Connemara Life. So just in case you needed some sort of a roadmap about how that happened, that is how that happened. But it was so exciting in Ireland, and opening Ireland, and the grand opening party that we had at Ballynahinch Castle. And oh, wow.
With the staff.
With the
whole
staff, and my
came
family
over.
from Ireland was there, and our
Yeah.
staff in Ireland, Sharon Dwan, and just sort of the kickoff of it was incredibly exciting.
It was.
And what was it? Was it like 2 years after that we asked Christian to come over?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so we had gotten our feet wet over there and sort of learned how to, embed into the culture there and launch Connemara Life, and which was we don't do it anymore. We did it for 5 years, and it was a good run and just an experience of a lifetime. But it was super hard to have a transatlantic office, and I think one year I traveled over there 5 times, and then other years 3 to 4, and that probably wasn't even enough to actually get over there. But so I can't even remember what happened. Did we call Christian and email him? And we had cultivated a relationship with him a couple years before, and we said, "Hey, do you want to come over to Ireland and do the shoot in a castle?" So
He said, absolutely.
yes.
How
And
could you turn that down?
Right, and that was so fun, and we got to know him better, and like we were talking about a little bit ago, like how can you not like get to know somebody better with all the traveling that we've done? And even though we have a very professional environment here, like it's professional, but it also is very intimate at the same time. And you had mentioned, partly that is because when you travel with people,
You get to know them because it's very intimate. You're on the airplane together, you're having dinners every night together, you're walking through New York City together, shopping, killing time, doing all the touristy things if in your downtime, going to meetings when we have business meetings up there, doing photo shoots. How can you not?
I do, I was pretty stressed out on that shoot just because it was, like, such a big shoot because it was in a different country, and like you said, the dresses hadn't showed up, but one funny thing about that, do you remember, like, the storyboard that we had put together, and it called for a lot of fur?
Yes.
And and then when Christian got there and we started opening up all the boxes, he very graciously, in his very diplomatic manner, said, "So, there's a lot of fur here." And, you know, um, on the board of PETA or something like
Yeah,
that,
he was concerned
It
that
was
it was going to give him a bad rep.
right. So, anyway, so mostly every time we would don some fur on a model, I think within 2 seconds, he would just graciously sort of strip it off them.
So we had one with and one without,
Right.
which, it's fine. I think the photo shoot ended up being so
So
beautiful. The
beautiful.
models were great, which that was another thing. We had to hire models,
In Dublin.
yeah, from overseas, and then hiring the photographer from overseas was quite a challenge that we'd never worked with before.
Right,
So,
and he was awesome.
but that all ended up working out. Alex did an amazing
Yeah, he
job,
did.
the
Alex
photographer.
Hutchins.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
he
he
did
did
a
a great job.
phenomenal job. And then what was the modeling agency that we used over there? I can't think of it.
It was, wasn't it Adriana Roche who we
Yes.
worked with? Yeah,
Yes.
it
Yeah,
was her modeling
she was
agency.
great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a highlight, and then to cap that off, then we had to ship the dresses back, but then the dresses cost an insane amount of money to get back for some reason, so we learned all sorts of things about shipping internationally and what not to do on the next go around and all that, but like you said, the shoot was just like a storybook, like just out of, a story, and,
Fairy tale, yeah.
and then that was the cover of the second issue of Connemara Life, and, it was fabulous, and I'm so, so, so happy that we did that. And then, photo shoots are just such a huge part of the business with the magazine publishing, and you were just on a shoot
I was.
yesterday morning
A cover shoot at Alice Beach,
for the next issue.
for the next issue, the architecture and design issue, which was very exciting. It was such a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. Hardly any humidity, so it was great. Up on the rooftop, we had our photographer up on a 12-foot ladder trying to get the shot of the rooftops with the beautiful Gulf in the background, and it was a 2-hour shoot. Wasn't as long as some of the others, so
Right.
it was
But she
it
got
was
the shot.
good.
Brenna Niece did a really good job, and like you had said, she was fearless, right? She just
Yeah,
was climbing up on that ladder like
yeah. Sh
nobody's business, right?
she's very brave.
Right. Well, she will get the shot as she always does. And so that's fantastic. And just so that, for the audience to get a little bit of a glimmer on what kind of time crunches we're under, the magazine goes to press on
Next.
Wednesday.
Mhm.
And so we thought we had a cover planned out for this, but then the photos that we were planning on fell through for varied reasons. And so we call this an emergency cover photo shoot, with 1 week's notice. But we're so used to doing this that what would have been so stressful and scary, 10 years ago or 8 years ago or even 6 years ago, do you find that it's like, we've done it. We can do it.
Yeah,
Like, and you just start, your muscle gets so built and so strong
yeah.
from so doing something over and over and over again that although it's difficult, and I wouldn't like to ever walk this difficult of a walk again, it does give you the chops to be able to do it.
Absolutely. I think so. At first time around, it's a little nerve-wracking when you're going, "Oh my gosh, we have the magazine, but we don't have a cover." That's really important. So, yeah, it's a little hairy in the beginning, but
You get
like you
through it.
said, as you continue to go through those obstacles, you kind of like live and learn, and it's second nature at this point.
Right, right. So, what else do we so many different things to talk about. How about, we talk about Ashley Longshore's shoot at Bergdorf Goodman and how that
Oh,
all came about
that
because that
was
was only a couple
fun.
years ago and that was fun, fun, fun.
That
And
was
now
super fun.
Bergdorf's right now isn't even open due to the worldwide situation that's going on with COVID. To think that we were there 2 years ago and just to think that I was there in February. And we've been so many times for the magazine to New York that to think that that city is somewhat still shut down right now is just mind-blowing to me
It
because it
is.
was like the epicenter of so much fashion and art and hustle and bustle and commerce, and it is really, really bizarre. So I find myself, reliving so many really great moments from my past while we're kind of in this pseudo pause because it makes me so grateful.
Yes, I agree with you. That was like an amazing shoot. So much fun, so much color, so much pop. I can remember the day before we were trying to find a makeup artist for Ashley, and that was a little bit of a scramble because it was very last minute, and it all worked out fine. And we had the makeup artist come up to her room at
The penthouse at, the plaza, of
yes,
course, and Ashley's makeup looked awesome, and I think
yeah,
Ashley actually used her for a couple of, other gigs that she had
she
and future
did,
trips
yeah.
that she went to in New York, but that was so fun. We, were only allowed 2 hours in Bergdorf's because that's all that they would allow us, and we had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning and walk in through the employee entrance and get screened to go in, and
Which we weren't sure we were gonna get in
right.
because the security guard was not happy with
No,
us,
he
with
was
all
not.
the many people
Too
we
many
had with us,
people. We always travel in an entourage. Too many people.
and it was freezing. Remember how cold it
Yes.
was? It was like 40, 35 degrees outside and windy. It was freezing.
And then Ashley brought it. Well, I mean, what is the movie there where the kid gets lost in a store and he's there overnight? I mean, like it just felt so like a crazy like movie that we got to go into Bergdorf's when it wasn't open.
I
And
know.
it just
Yeah.
was it was I don't know what, just an experience of a lifetime. And, Bergdorf's is like the creme de la creme. And then Ashley, with all of her amazing style and her artistry, I'd say that was one shoot that we did where we did the least amount of actual styling because Ashley has styling times 1,000. And so she had her Gucci coats and what else? I mean, the
Her
diamond,
sunglasses and her grill and her many coats, her
many coats.
boots, her fancy leather pants. Yeah, she
The
was
specialized
decked
custom
out.
hat that the yeah, her
The
diamond
face, yeah,
face, yeah,
the
that was
faces,
just
that
crazy.
was yeah,
And
that
sh and it
was
was hot.
amazing.
Anyway, Bergdorf only allowed us in for 2 hours, and we have this, when we need, like, the AAA game photographer, we call Carlo Pieroni, who is one of our favorite fashion photographers, and, of course, he and his wife, Carol, came to that because, we knew if anyone could get a shot in 2 hours, he could do it, and he did, and that was something that was outside of his comfort level too, because he usually obviously, what photographer shoots a cover in 2 hours? Really, nobody can do that. That was pretty amazing what he did, but Ashley brought it too. I mean,
Absolutely,
oh
she was
man,
in
it
character or
totally,
herself, really.
yeah. But
Um,
it's hard, she was hot, and I'm like, oh, you're
it
doing
was,
such
yeah,
a good job.
it was, but
I think it
then
was her first cover too, first cover shoot.
it was,
Yeah, and then
yeah.
we had her cover up in Times Square for her too,
Mhm,
which was such a big highlight for everybody,
mhm.
her and us. And like I said, it was just I'm so grateful for so many experiences that we've had. So let's talk about various iterations of the V brand in the last 13 years, because that's
Okay,
something we really partnered on. So I'll give a little backstory on Tracy. Tracy had worked for a competitor's ad agency in town. And I had seen Tracy at the Addy Awards Federation for a couple of years. And I loved her work. I thought it was so good. And then I thought I loved her style. I thought she was just such uh, like a Audrey Hepburn type, just crazy elegance and style. And was telling some of the other employees there, I'd love to have her come work with us, but you can't do that because I wouldn't poach from a competitor. I don't think that's good sportsmanship. And I remember 2 years went by, and um, Bob came into the office and said, you're not going to believe it, but Tracey Thomas sent her resume, and we were so happy.
Thank you for the kind words. You're so sweet. I was so happy too that you guys were hiring because I've
Yes.
always wanted to work for you. In fact, I don't even know if you know this. Before I moved down to this area, I reached out to Cornerstone before I reached out to any other company,
No
and you
way.
guys weren't hiring at the time.
Oh, man.
So
Fail.
it worked
Such a
out.
fail on my part. Oh, man. Oh, wow. That's good. I didn't know that
Yeah.
story. I don't think I did. No. So so then, we started the magazine. When you got here, the magazine had been like a year or two um,
It was a year.
underway,
Yeah.
a year. And at the time, our, a magazine or anything creative is going to take on the characteristics of the creatives. And I loved every iteration that we've had of VIE magazine, but I definitely think we've continuously improved. And this iteration that we have today and that we've basically crafted what I call take three, about 3 years ago, is my absolute favorite representation and iteration of the magazine. And at the time, we had a lot of male designers who were very, very good, but the magazine definitely took on their personality and their point of view, which it was really cool. And they brought a lot of amazing things to the table. And when I look back at it now, even 13 years later, I think, wow, some of the stuff even 13 years ago was good. And but it wasn't totally reflecting exactly what I had hoped for because of this, the female male thing. And so when you got your hands on it, I was super happy because I finally thought that that next iteration was going to mean that the magazine could evolve maybe into being something that I had hoped for before. And I have to tell you, you brought it and brought it again, and it is absolutely spectacular.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. It's so, so beautiful. So 3 years ago, for the audience, backstory, I decided that to continue publishing V, we were going to have to become national. We were going to be national, we were going to have to publish a monthly magazine. And to do that, we were going to have to travel on the road with these stories with heart and soul meet and greets that we invented basically to share our brand, share our story, grow our readership, grow our distribution. And so for 3 years, or maybe even 3.5 years now, we have tirelessly done that. And going from a 6 time a year magazine to a monthly magazine was an epic transition. But when we did that, we not only had that as a macro thing going on, but we also wanted to rebrand the magazine. And that's when we started developing all of those layers, like the department pages, and they were breaks in the magazine, and the introspectives, and the inspirations, and then the Lacine, and the C'est la vie. And none of those existed prior to, was it 3.5, 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that layering, you, Jordan, and I sat in that conference room for, several hours for several different times building that. And I think it makes a huge difference to the experience in the magazine.
I agree with you. It's been a really fun experience seeing the magazine go from where it has been to where it is now, just evolving. It's really been so much fun. Kind of bringing in, like you talked about, we had a little bit more masculinity than we could have needed, and so it was nice to kind of bring in a little bit of femininity,
Right. Not
speaking a
not
little bit.
totally losing, the masculine side too, because we have male and female readers.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, but it's been a fun ride.
So, Tracy, speaking about the meet and greets, we have been so many places. We've been to Boston, New York, Dallas, New Orleans, Nashville, just to name a few. And I think the Nashville jaunt that we took was pretty cool,
That
embedding
was
in the
amazing.
city of Nashville. And we had our party at the listening room. And that's when we met Ashley Campbell and her brother. They performed, and it was amazing. And had so many other emerging performers, and it was all to benefit Lori Hood's Aliqua. Tell me about that and working with Andy from Any Old Iron and the photo shoot, and then we had a podcast going on there, and then we had the videographer, all of that. Just tell the audience a little bit about that night.
So that was really fun. I really enjoyed that because it was a different experience, different from any of the other meet and greets where typically you're just sort of like mingling and networking in a room. This is more of like a performance show where we had some singer-songwriters come in and sing, and people were sitting and listening, and we decided to throw in a little fashion runway show to mix it up. So we had Any Old Iron. We met with him the day before to kind of pull some things, and he had his models. He had about 7 models strutting around in sequins, so that was really fun. And we had a huge auction, which turned out great for Lori. We ended up raising, what was it, 20,000?
20,000. Yeah.
Which is amazing for her. So that was great. And then Billy Dawson was there, which was really fun too. He's
He's
amazing.
Awesome. And he performed in Lori's recent Rescue Me as well. Yeah, it was just one of those, many, many once in a lifetime experiences that we got to, put together. And then I'd say Charleston was a monumental stop for us too, because we met so many people. Suzanne Pollock being one of them, who is now a contributing writer for the magazine, and she is so influential. She's the dean of the Charleston Academy. She knows everybody, anybody who's anybody, and everybody in between as well. And she was very pivotal in introducing us to a lot of different people that opened new doors for the magazine as well. So when conceiving that idea to just take V on the road, one of the reasons I originally thought of doing that was because we had a limited budget. And we weren't in the big leagues where we're going to be able to spend like $1 million on social media and pay-per-clicks. And so, it was a calculated risk that we took to go on the road like we did, to what I call take a play from a playbook from the 1980s when you just like went on the road and met people face to face. It was kind of novel actually because, we were doing that in the heat of the digital, revolution where nobody was talking or even calling each other on the phone, let alone meeting each other in person and having a face to face. So we were ahead of our curve.
Right. It's going back to the old days when people used to physically network in person.
Right. And so I was nervous about it because I knew it was kind of swimming upstream. But then from the first event that we did in Birmingham and that small, intimate event and what that yielded for us, and it was like it was a long road. It was a slower way to accomplish something, but a very meaningful one. So when I look back on it, I'm really glad that we did that because I think it grew and perpetuated the brand better than anything that we could have ever done. And again, that's a risk. We don't have everything always figured out in what we're doing. We still just love making the magazine. The whole team here does it with such excellence. But we have really forged our own destiny. And God willing, we will continue
absolutely
to do so. Totally. Well, I just love you, Tracey. And I thank you so much for being on the second podcast, VIE Speaks, Think Out Loud. I think it's fun to give people a peek into the inner workings of, putting a magazine together, but also understanding that a team is a team and you need people and you need the synergy and you need the respect and you need the admiration of all to make it work. And I thank you for everything that you do for VIE Magazine.
Well, thank you, Lisa. I love you too.